Hello there everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Show. My name is Adil. We're here in the Ismaili Centre with Dr. Adil Ladak, the Chelsea Football Club doctor. Welcome, Adil.
Thank you for having me, nice to meet you.
You doing well?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. So we're going to chat for the next 20 minutes about your life, about your job, just anything interesting about what the audience want to hear about your role within such a high-profile football club.
Okay.
But before we go into that, just tell the audience a little bit about where you're from, what you did before you got this role.
Yes, so my name's Adil. I've always come to Darkana, so it's good to be back here. I went to medical school at Imperial, which is around the corner as well. So this is very local to me. I went to medical school in 2005. I graduated from medical school in 2005. And initially I trained as a surgeon. I finished my basic surgical training, and then I started to do a research degree, and I really wasn't enjoying it. And that was at Addenbrooke's in Cambridge, so I stopped that. And then I went back and I retrained as a GP. And then I did my GP training, and then I worked as a GP for some years. And I really wasn't enjoying the style of the work and the content. My passion has always been sport, and so I looked into what I could do, because there's so many pathways you can take within medicine. And this would have been going back 6 or 7 years now. So I went off to do a master's in sports medicine, which I did, and then I got some jobs in sport. I worked in cricket for a while, which was great. I worked for the Caribbean Premier League, so I got to fly around the Caribbean islands, hanging out with Chris Gale. It was pretty fun.
Wicked.
Yeah, there wasn't much work going on, but yeah. And then I came back to London. I was working, and then one of the doctors at Chelsea left. I heard about it through the grapevine, because it's quite a small community. And then I sent a CV to them. I wasn't expecting to hear back, because I hadn't worked in football before.
And it's Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah. You'd think you need to have worked somewhere else, but they looked at my CV, and it's a decent CV. And then I got a call from them, and we had a phone interview, and that was from the head of medical. And then he said, look, this is what the job requires. And I told him about my reasons for wanting to work there, and he said, this sounds interesting, so why don't you come up to the club and meet me? And so I came, then a couple of days later I went up to Cobham, which is where our training ground is, and I met with the medical department, and I was amazed how much they knew about my life already. So we've got some pretty good hackers wherever they're sitting somewhere in their IT department. But yeah, we had a good chat. It was 2 hours. And then they said, look, I left, and then I was just walking back towards the train station, and my phone rang. And they said, look, we really enjoyed the interview. We'd like to offer you a job, but you've not worked in football before, so I'm going to give you a 3-month contract. Let's see how we are. You might not like football, and we might not like you. So I said, that's fine. And then about 6 weeks into that, they said, look, this is going well from our side. And I was like, this is a very natural environment for me to work in as well. And that was 4 years ago, and here we are.
I mean, I've got so many questions just off that introduction.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing is I'm very passionate about sports, and hopefully most of the viewers are as well, because this is the sports show, and it's interesting to hear your story. Traditionally we've had athletes on, and it's really good to hear your story. Do you know many other people that have done medicine or kind of that background and then gone into sports? Yeah,
so there's actually a formal training pathway now in sports medicine. And that was created when the Olympics was announced. So it's quite a new specialty in that way, where there's a formal pathway, where they have an exam called a membership exam, which I've actually done now. So I've done that. But basically I was too experienced to go through the pathway, because the pathway is a 4-year thing that you apply for, and it involved jobs I'd already done in my training. So it would have been orthopedics again, and rheumatology, and A&E medicine and stuff like that. And I'd literally done the whole rotation before. So for me, it was counterproductive to go back and do a formal training pathway. So I basically just did the exam, the membership exam, which I've passed now, and so now I'm a member of the Faculty of Sports and Exercise Medicine in the UK. From there, you can work in any sport. It really just depends where your interest is. Football's a small community, and we all know each other.
So as doctors and other football clubs, do they generally tend to hop from club to
club? Yeah. People stay in football.
Yeah, they stay in football.
It's just a certain. The biggest thing a club will look at, which wasn't the case for me, so I'm being hypocritical, but for me to now move from Chelsea, which I have no plan to do, but they'd look at my experience of 5 years working in this environment, and that counts for much more than writing research and stuff like that in football, because it's a very different environment to any other workplace you'll come across in medicine.
And you mentioned you'd start with a 3-month contract.
Yeah.
That screams a little bit danger for some people that wanted to get into the industry, because they might not have that security. Is that is that a normal thing for
Yeah, it was in this situation because I'd never worked in football.
Okay, and how did you feel about that? Did you feel...
Yeah, no, I said, well, you're giving me a chance and I'm taking a punt. You know, I had a very nice job at the time and I sort of left, you know, I handed my notice and I left. And
did you feel it as a risk or did you feel it more of an opportunity?
But more of an opportunity.
Okay, yeah.
Of course it's a risk because, you know, you're walking out of a very nice job and you're going into the unknown. But, and also you've not worked in that environment before, so you don't know what you're going into. But it actually it all worked out for the best.
Yeah, and how long have you been there?
4 seasons now.
4 seasons, okay, wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that 3-month contract has gone a long way.
Exactly.
Okay, wicked. And in terms of just moving on to your role, so your role now, I think some of the viewers who watch football, who are interested in the sport, might have an idea of what it entails, but I'm sure that's a long way away from what it actually entails. So I guess, can you just walk us through what your day-to-day is? But I'm guessing a day-to-day isn't always a day-to-day. It might vary.
So the one thing I'll tell anyone who wants to work in football is you can kiss your social life goodbye. You don't own your timetable anymore. So there's no such thing as I'm off today. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
Yeah? Sorry, it's Olim's wedding today. They don't care. Okay, so
one day.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's not. That's the thing about football is it's relentless and things happen and things need to move quickly. If you think about what these guys are earning every week, if you leave say 100 grand a week, if you delay things 3 days, you've wasted 40 grand. Yeah. So it works on these numbers. So a typical day, we would report as a medical department in the morning. We would review players to see if they're fit for training. So we played yesterday. So say someone took a knock and had a dead leg or something like that, and then we'd see them at 8:45 the next day, just so we can tell the manager yes or no. So we review new injuries at 8:45. Then 9 o'clock we go into a management meeting with the managers, and we just say, right, this player's in, this player's out, or this one's coming back from injury, so he can't do the whole training session or whatever it is. And then the manager will take over and discuss the day's training and what he wants and blah blah blah. And then we come out of that, and at 9:15 we'd step into a medical meeting, which is within our medical department, where we discuss the long-term injuries. You don't need to review them every day at 8:45 because you know they're injured. Yeah. And then we discuss their rehab and what each physio is going to be doing that day. So I would lead the meeting, and then each physio would talk about the player they're working with. And then we'd allocate training cover, because at Chelsea, any training group above under 16 needs to have a doctor pitch side. It's just the rules at our club. Okay.
Training, anything. Okay.
Yeah, at training. That's probably the most OTT for anyone, but they have the finances to do it. Some Premier League clubs don't have a doctor every day, so it's a big difference, especially for the ones who've just come up from the Championship. They won't have daily cover; they crack on. But at Chelsea, any training group age 16 and above needs to have cover. Okay. And then so we finish training. That will take you through to lunchtime. During the morning, there's a lot of walking around the building, high-fiving people, and man hugs. That's been wiped out by coronavirus a little bit. So we're not more on a fist pump thing, but there's a lot of love. You walk around, unless you've lost, in which case you hide in your office and you don't go out. It's quite a social place, because there's probably 1,000 people at the training ground in different sites. So you do see a lot of people. There's a lot of interaction, and the kind of people who work in football are overgrown children, basically. So there's a lot of banter, a lot of pranks.
Do you have an assessment on an individual case by case? Let's say nobody's injured. Yeah. I'm sure that's not the case, but let's say nobody's injured. Do you monitor different people based on their, injury proneness? Like some people might. That depends on the club. Okay. So some clubs are very sports science focused, and they will do that kind of thing and look at injury prevention and do different types of strengthening programs, work with S&C and different strength and conditioning in different areas to try and get ahead of it. So Arsenal is heavily S&C, but they have the most injuries every season. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I know that.
So we have to wonder what they're doing. But their medical really focuses on that. And whereas our place is the opposite. It's very much don't overcomplicate things. Okay. There's a lot of sports science companies trying to prove their product. It's a very new area. And our philosophy is just to keep it to basics, basically. Okay. But that, like I said, that really does depend on the club and who's in charge, and they're all very different. And so I was telling you about the working day. So, So then we finished and we have lunch. The restaurant at the training ground is very nice, and then in the afternoon it's various different things. I go to hospital appointments for players. We go to MRI scans with players. There's always lots of admin to do, and then we do reviews, because when we have an injured player in the academy or the ladies team, not a small thing like an ankle sprain, but a more complex problem, we review them in the first team building with all the first team staff. So that happens in the afternoon. So it's like a big, what we call MDT, so multidisciplinary meeting. Okay. So all the first team staff and whoever else is involved with the player will all come, and then they'll present the person who's looking after the player will present it to the medical director, and then you will take them there. They'll do an assessment, like a musculoskeletal assessment, and then they will basically they'll ask the player to go outside, and then we go around in a circle and everyone talks about it, everyone has to contribute, and then you make a management plan and move forward. So that's what we do in the afternoons, is review other players. It's a big organisation because we got obviously the men's first team, women's first team, but then we've also got the academy for the boys and the girls, which starts at age 8 up to 23. So there's a lot of athletes on site. And then we also have a foundation, which is our charitable arm, and they also use the site as well in the evenings to train and stuff like that. So it's quite a big site, and there's a lot of different groups training there.
So so it sounds like day to day it does vary quite a lot. What would you say your highest moment has been, and maybe your lowest moment as well? What have been kind of extremes?
The highest moment is quite easy. There was a big game of football in Porto on May the 29th. I was very lucky to travel with the team, and I was there for 4 days and be in the dressing room and run on the pitch after and all the rest of it. And it was the most intense thing I've ever experienced. It's the stuff of dreams. So that night at the Champions League final was very, very special, and I don't think you can beat that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, you touched upon it. We as football fans, we'll see doctors run on the pitch, and that's the kind of side of it that we see. Yeah. Are you involved in that?
Yeah. So we do that. So part of our job is also to travel with the teams. Okay. So obviously that's the stuff I've told you about. It's the stuff at the training ground. But then we travel to all the games. My main role is with the under-23s, but I help out with the first team, so I've done some first team games as well. And I travel with the under-23s. We play Tottenham tomorrow night, and we've got Man United on Friday at Stamford Bridge, actually. So it's good. These are all, for people who watch the game, so Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Reece James, all these guys came through the academy with me, just Billy Gilmore, all these guys. Yeah. So that's the level of player coming through there. So it's a high level of football, and it's really good to see these guys go on and get careers when they move on. Yeah. But yeah, we do the run-on, so our policy is there's always a doctor and a physio who runs on. Obviously, I would lead on head injuries and stuff like that. If it's more of a joint-related problem, the physio will normally lead, and I'll follow. And obviously, as we saw recently, there's a nasty cardiac incident that happened at the Euros with Ericsson. We're all very trained up in all the emergency stuff like that in case the worst does happen. We carry all our emergency kit with us, and we have to be ready for that.
And so it sounds very high pressured. Obviously, you mentioned that the money that's involved, and if someone is injured a little bit, 2 or 3 days, it's a huge impact. But I guess performance as well. Yeah. Is that correct? It's just ridiculously high pressure, and does that impact your job? Or do you feel? How do you feel?
It's high stress. It's high stress. Yeah. So I mean, I love it because I love the sport and I can work in this environment. But there's a lot of stress. Your phone doesn't stop ringing. Your emails don't stop. And there's no respect for your personal time. And then when things aren't going well, these players can be difficult because they're superstars and they want what they want and they want to get better. And if they're not getting better, then that comes back at you. And then obviously with the management, Chelsea, if you lose 3 games, you're in trouble. So obviously that starts to creep in when you do lose. And as I said, the atmosphere can change very quickly. So you do work under a highly stressed environment. Everyone's got their own agenda. It's an elite organisation. Everyone around you is at the top of their game. And so, the standards are high. So you've got to keep yourself on your toes all the time. And you've got to look after yourself. And the thing about football as well, it's a very political organisation. So you have to be very aware of what's going on around you and understand people's ideas and expectations and manage them. How to communicate to different coaches. They're all very different. Some you can be honest, some you have to say things a little bit differently. So just ways to stay ahead of the game, really.
So if there's people watching, kids or even young adults who are interested in this career path, they're really interested in medicine, but as like yourself, you've got a keen interest in sport. What advice would you give them to go specifically into I guess sports medicine, but I guess football as well? What advice would you give them, or learnings that they might not be able to learn from reading? No.
So it's all about being available. Yeah. So with this kind of job, it comes up once in a while. And you've got to get yourself there and be ready for it. They wanted me to start 3 weeks later. I had a wedding, I had summer plans, and I had to scrap it all because they're like, we need you that day. And I had all these things planned for the summer because the start date is July the 1st, so I had to just cancel it all. And it is what it is, you know. I missed someone's wedding and I missed a stag do, and I had to just cancel all my stuff. But the opportunity comes then. Yeah. It's quite a small world, so networking is really important, getting your name out there. And also, any experience is good. So you can work in non-league football, you can work in the lower leagues. Once you get yourself trained up, you need to do a course called ATMIF, which is run by the FA, which is Pitside Emergencies. Yeah. So that's a basic requirement for all doctors working in football. And then once you've done a master's or you've done some training in sports, it's all about working in as many different sports as you can. It's a very small new specialty. It's a small specialty, and there's not many jobs, and so people know each other. So once you just got to get your name out there, really. We, for example, as a football club, have a requirement for a lot of part-time doctors as well, because we just can't cover it all. So there's the full-time guys, but then in the evenings we have junior groups training, and our training ground has staff every day until 9:30, 10 p.m. and every Saturday and Sunday, which is not like the main elite stuff, but other stuff. So I have a bank of 10 doctors who work with me, who cover the evenings, who cover the weekends. And the last time we recruited a doctor was actually from that bank. It was the guy in that bank who was doing the best job, always available. What are you doing tomorrow? I'll be there, no problem. That attitude, and that's the person you turn to. He was the most helpful, hardworking, and he was always available. He cancelled his plans, which makes you see that someone's willing to give up their social life to work in the to work. You
have to really love the job. That's it.
So that's all the clubs have the same though. They all have a bank of doctors. So that's another thing to do, is to get yourself onto these banks and get your name out there and start meeting people. That's it. And that'll be my advice. It's about networking, turning up to. There's a football medical society that does monthly meetings. There's lots of different sports medicine conferences. Isokinetic run one, which is a big private medical company. They did it at the New Camp, and then they did it at Wembley last year. But that's like 3,000 people from all over the industry working together. So you're trying to get yourself a poster presentation there, or even just going and networking with people, just getting your name out. I think that's the key. And then when you get your chance, you really got to go, because it's all when you have that moment and you get your opportunity, you've got to take it.
Cool. No. I've got to ask, who's your favourite player for Chelsea? Who's the nicest player or the most fun player?
N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, you see,
he's such a lovable guy.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe he's famous. He's the nicest man. Like, always smiling.
I heard a story that he wanted to run. He was going to run to training or something. Is that true?
Yeah, I think his car broke down, and they just said to him, like, just run here, be quicker. But he's got an engine on him. He just never tired, man. He can run and run and run for 90 minutes. But he's the most humble of all of them. But to be honest, they all are. That was one misconception about it. I thought they'd be very difficult, and they're just not. They're nice people, and most of them have been in football academies since they were kids, so they actually crave normal interaction. So when they meet you and they want to talk, and they're all open, they're all nice. Well, there are some who are more particular than others, and you have to learn to manage personality. There's some very, very high-profile players at the football club, so you have to know the boundaries with them. But most of them are just really nice people, and we get on really well. We have a good laugh together every day, and it's a really nice place to work.
Well, Kante is my favourite player, even though I'm an Arsenal fan. So I'm happy you said that.
We'll probably sell him to you once he's no good.
That'll be a long time, probably. So Adil, before we finish, I've got a little quick fire round, just for the audience, just to get to know you. It's only a few questions, but I want you to answer straight away. No thinking. Just a few questions. All right, you ready?
Yeah, go on.
Fried chicken or salad?
Fried chicken.
That was an easy one, wasn't it? Football or cricket?
Ooh.
No thinking.
Cricket.
Cricket. Controversial.
Yeah.
Favourite superhero?
Superman.
Biggest weakness?
Oh,
God. Top of your head, Adil.
I eat too much.
There goes the fried chicken. Samosa or biryani?
Biryani.
Yeah. Formal suit or tracksuit?
Formal suit, even though I'm wearing a tracksuit.
You're wearing a tracksuit.
I live in this.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Lords or MCG?
Lords.
Cricket question.
Yeah.
He's a very big cricket fan, clearly. Best football player in the world?
Messi.
Yeah. I could have answered that for you.
Yeah.
Last one, blue or red?
Blue.
Okay, thought that might be the answer. Okay, thank you, Adil. Before we go, I've just got one question, and I hear this quite a lot from, and I actually stole this from a podcast that I hear a lot about interviewing people that have succeeded in their field. So how much of what you've achieved do you think is based on timing and luck, and how much do you think it's to do with your own personal skill?
Yeah, so there's a phrase which I use for this, because obviously I did get some good luck on my side to get the opportunity that I did, but I think good luck is when hard preparation meets opportunity, because I had to be in the right frame of mind to have done the masters that I'd done, and then when I got my chance to drop everything and make the job my own and prove to everybody there that I could do it and that I was the right person for it. So I think you make your own luck to a certain extent, and then once you get that opening, which everybody does in life, you get a couple of moments where things go for you, you've really got to make use of it. Cool. And that'd be my answer.
Cool, no, thank you. I think preparation meets opportunity is a really good phrase, and good for anyone who's interested in joining this field. Hopefully you guys have learned something. I certainly have. Thank you very much for Adil for telling your story.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully see you guys next time on the Sports Show.